Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, permission and persistence. So we've been having some deep spiritual fun this month with our theme, which is creating a life of magic, big magic, and it's based on this brilliant book by Elizabeth Gilbert. Anybody read Eat, Pray, Love? Yeah, okay, well this is the same Elizabeth Gilbert. So it's big magic, creating living beyond fear. And we've used this to explore our attitudes and the approaches and the habits that are needed to uncover our hidden treasures, to face our fears, and to trust the universe. All of which lead us to our most creative, magical lives, the lives that God intended us to live. God, Spirit, Universal Mind, whatever you want to call it. So Ernest Holmes, in Thoughts Are Things, wrote, "You live because life lives in you. You move because there is a universal energy flowing through you. You think because there is an infinite intelligence thinking through you. You exist because the divine spirit has sought to individualize itself in and as you. This is why you are called to the temple of the living God." Isn't that beautiful? We're the temple of the living God. There is a divine spark at the center of your being, but you need to recognize this, believe it, and act upon your belief. That's our part. We have to actually recognize it. And that's what we're exploring this month, how to act upon knowing who we are. So we're going to do a little review for anyone who's missed last couple of weeks. So far, we've defined creative living as 1, a life that is driven more strongly by curiosity than by fear, and 2, a life in which you bring forth from you that which brings you joy and fulfillment, which in turn blesses the world. Aren't we so much happier and nice to other people when we're feeling like we are blessed and joyful? We have said that every one of us, no exceptions to this one, has within us hidden treasures that when we uncover them will bring forth that which brings us joy and fulfillment, which in turn blesses the world. And we've looked at the very one thing, the very boring thing that holds us back from discovering what these hidden treasures are and living that life of joy and fulfillment and bringing us to a blessing of the world. And what is that one thing that holds us back? Anybody remember? It's fear. It's fear. Fear holds us back. And we've embraced the idea of being enchanted by our own inspiration. I know Claudia is very enchanting with her inspiration to paint and her beautiful paintings. If you look at them, you see that enchantment right there. And we realize that the ideas, and we could call them dreams, are unformed energy floating around with the only desire, and that is to be made manifest. And it may manifest through us. That's the only way it can do that. It has to have a human conduit. We've talked about how they land on us when we think they may have found a receptive vehicle for them. We then have a choice to either become enchanted with the inspiration they bring and move forward or not. It's our choice. How many of us have those great ideas and then we don't act upon them and then somebody else does and we go, "Oh, they stole my idea," right? So a student of this teaching once wrote in class, and this is a writing that was just beautiful and it fit perfectly with us. She said, "My dream is a divine idea, born a divine purpose. Becoming is its purpose. Its purpose is to be made manifest in, through, and as me. And my purpose is to serve this idea 100% all the way through to its fruition. I nurture it with my loving and grateful attention as it responds simultaneously with its becoming. And we are both fulfilled. This is a sacred exercise performed at all times in the service of the divine. It knows what it is called to become, and I know that my work is to simply follow its lead." Isn't that beautiful? I love it when students write things like this. It's just amazing. Now, that's really truly being enchanted by inspiration. So, let's say we are enchanted by the inspiration that an idea gives us. There is one viewpoint that will stop forward movement and one that completely supports it, and that is what we'll explore today. The one that will stop forward movement is thinking that we need permission. Thinking that we need permission. Not necessarily a conscious thing, But lurking in our subconscious is the thought that we need it. You may think you need this because, just perhaps, your parents were terrified to take a risk in any form. A lot of parents didn't want their children to, take any kind of risk. Maybe your parents were compulsive rule followers. Ooh, I can say my father sure was. Actually, my mom was too. Or maybe they were just too busy being whatever they were being to ever use their imaginations toward creativity. There's a lot of people that think that there's just, you follow A, B, and C, and you don't think outside that box at all. Maybe they were afraid of what the neighbors would say, and so they never gave you permission to be free, to be curious, to explore, or to create. Now you've long since been out of that environment. Well, maybe not some of you, but a lot of us have been long out of that environment. But lingering deep within you is the belief, perhaps the unconscious belief, that you still need permission and that you don't have it. Well, you don't need it. And if you really think you do, then I'm giving it to you right here and now, because I'll just use my magic wand. It's so magic, it's invisible. I was actually going to borrow her Harry Potter wand and use it today, but I didn't. So I'm giving you permission right now. You hereby have permission to be curious, to explore and to create freely and with wild abandon, and with no end in mind other than to bring joy to yourself and fulfillment to yourself. So we're going to turn that into a personal declaration. So repeat after me. I hereby have permission.
I hereby have permission
to be curious, to explore and to create, freely and with wild abandon, with no end in mind, other than to bring joy and fulfillment. Good. All right. So Gilbert invites us all to, and I quote, possess a fierce sense of personal entitlement, which I hope you learn to cultivate. I know that this word has negative connotations, but let's appropriate it here and put it to good use, because you will never be able to create anything interesting out of your life if you don't believe that you're entitled to at least try. Creative entitlement doesn't mean behaving like a princess or acting as though the world owes you anything whatsoever. No, creative entitlement simply means believing that you are allowed to be here, and that by merely being here, you are allowed to have a voice and a vision of your own. The poet David Whyte calls this sense of creative entitlement the arrogance of belonging. I love that, the arrogance of belonging. Whew. And claims that it is an absolutely vital privilege to cultivate if you wish to interact more vividly with life. Without this arrogance of belonging, you will never be able to take any creative risks whatsoever. Without it, you will never push yourself out of the suffocating insulation of personal safety and into the frontiers of the beautiful and the unexpected. I love her book. I'm having such a fun time reading it. So, one more time, we're going to have you repeat. I hereby have permission.
I hereby have permission.
In fact, I am entitled.
In fact, I am entitled
to be curious, to explore and to create, freely and with wild abandon, with no end in mind, other than to bring joy and fulfillment. All right. So, in Creative Minded Success, Ernest Holmes writes, always remember this: life is from within, outward, and never from without, inward. That's huge. Life is from within, outward, and never from outward, inward, right? You are the center of power in your own life because it begins in here. Knowing that you have permission, in fact, knowing that you are entitled to be curious, explore, and create is a catalyst for bringing forth joy and fulfillment. And then Gilbert suggests there's a second quality that completely supports us in living the creative life. And we touched on it last week without specifically saying it, and that is persistence. Persistence. Here's a note from the universe that says exactly what happens when we engage in persistence. So what if it takes a long time? So what if it's already taken longer than you thought? So what if it will still take longer? The day will nevertheless arrive, and it always does. when all your prior efforts, determination, and persistence will seem a paltry price indeed, as you are lifted irrevocably higher, as if by chariots of fire into realms previously unimagined, and then you'll think to yourself, wow, that was fast. I can hear the music now. The Universe. Love that book. Love Notes from the Universe. In The Science of Mind, Holmes wrote, "There is no secret in this business of demonstrating." Demonstrating means to attract into your life, create whatever it is, the law of attraction, whatever it is that you desire. "The only secret is the persistent ability to use the law and the determination to continue to use it until we prove it." I think a lot of us, I know I have given up sometimes. Oh, I'll do a treatment. I'm going to treat for this. I'm going to do an affirmative prayer. And then I don't see results immediately. It's like, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Oh, no. Stay persistent. So here's a little story. You may have heard this one before. It's about the farmer who owned an old mule, and the mule fell into the farmer's well. The farmer heard the mule braying, or whatever it is that mules do when they fall into wells. And after carefully assessing the situation, the farmer sympathized with the mule, but decided that neither the mule nor the well was worth saving. Instead, he called his neighbors together and told them what had happened, and he enlisted them to help haul the dirt to bury the old mule in the well and put him out of his misery. Well, initially, the old mule was hysterical, but as the farmer and the neighbors continued shoveling the dirt, and it hit him on his back, a thought struck him. It suddenly dawned on him that every time a shovel load of dirt landed on his back, he should shake it off and step up. And this he did, blow after blow. Shake it off and step off. Shake it off and step up. Shake it off and step up. He repeated this to himself, to encourage himself. No matter how painful the blows or distressing the situation seemed, the old mule fought panic and just kept right on, shaking it off and stepping up. And it wasn't long before the old mule, battered and exhausted, stepped triumphantly over the wall of that well. What seemed that would bury him actually blessed him, all because of his persistence and his determination. So, I always like happy animal stories. So in Big Magic, Gilbert writes, "So you must keep trying. You must keep calling out for your own big magic. You must search tirelessly and faithfully, hoping against hope to someday experience that divine collusion of creative communion, either for the first time or one more time." How many of us think, gee, I already got mine, I don't deserve any more? Oh, no, you're just getting started. Because when it all comes together, it's truly amazing. When it all comes together, the only thing you can do is bow down in gratitude, as if you have been granted an audience with the divine, because you have. You have. So let's bring this together this morning by taking our permission statement and add it to persistent affirmations. Apply these words to a hidden treasure that you are wanting to call forth, or to an idea that has landed on you with which you've become enchanted. Get an idea of it in your mind. Right now, just take a moment and think about something, an idea that you're enchanted with, something that you'd like to attract into your life, that you're determined that you'd like to work towards. Okay? We have that idea in our minds? All right, say after me. I hereby have permission.
I hereby have permission.
In fact, I am entitled to be curious, to explore and to create, freely and with wild abandon, with no end in mind, other than to bring joy and fulfillment. Therefore, I am persistent. I move forward into my highest good. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence and determination. With God's help, I now persist into my highest good. I invite the powerful, loving action of God into my life, and every need is met. I expect the best. I anticipate the best in every aspect of my life now. the work of my hands and the plans of my life are moving toward a sure and perfect completion. Miracles now follow miracles. And magic, big magic, never ceases to manifest. And together we say, and so it is.